So after we reviewed a pretty awful game last time, I think it's time to see how Spyro has been going and finish up this little Spyro review of games before I give him a break. Now, much like Naughty Dog, Insomniac Games had the same issue that Naughty Dog did. Once they finished the third Spyro game, bam, they were out of there, which means Universal had to find another development studio to produce the next Spyro game, and they later came across two companies who were able to make the next Spyro game, Check 6 Games and Equinox Entertainment. They made Spyro Enter the Dragonfly, a next-generation Spyro game released for the PlayStation 2, and a few days later was released for the Nintendo GameCube. There was also going to be a PC and Xbox version, but that was because when this game came out, it received a lot of negative response from both critics and fans. A lot of them said it was the worst Spyro game of all time, or even one of the worst video games that was ever made. But here's the question, is Spyro Enter the Dragonfly really that bad? Okay, let's go to the story. The story in this game takes place after the events of Spyro 3. Spyro and his friends are holding a big celebration because the new baby dragons are getting their baby dragonflies as guardians. You know, like how Spyro has sparks, you pretty much get the idea. And then boom! Lightning comes out, and out comes our villain of the game. Wait. Ripto? Ripto's the villain? I don't get it. Didn't he die at the end of Spyro 2? What's going on here? Okay, I suppose I should bring this up. This is one of the many things people criticize. The fact that Ripto's back after he had a gruesome death in Spyro 2. But I suppose if the sorcerers could survive lava, I guess Ripto can too. But then again, he didn't really have his magicals. I don't get it! Okay, let's just skip that and get back to the story. After wanting to join forces with Spyro, who he negatively rejects, Ripto takes all the dragonflies. Bear with me here, you're about to find out what's gonna happen. When really, he actually scattered the dragonflies accidentally. Now, I would have come to believe this, but the problem is, when Ripto actually finds out he scattered the dragonflies everywhere, that's about halfway through the game. Could give you a reason to why sparks suddenly end up here, but maybe if this cutscene happened after the next cutscene, maybe you'd understand, but because it's so far ahead, you really won't get it. There's nothing more I can say about this story, it's just confusing, like, how's Ripto back? Why isn't these two cutscenes together? I really don't get it. Though I will say this though, the character models in this game are certainly better than the ones in Wrath of Cortex. Spyro is obviously the best looking model in this game. The other models are good, or just, you know, average, except for Ripto, what the hell happened to him? But I will say the character models are certainly much better than the ones in Wrath of Cortex. Aside from the game's character models, I will have to say this game actually does look pretty good. The backgrounds are nice, even though there are some unfinished cloud effects or something like that. And I will say there are some big things to explore. But because of the big graphics, that then leads me to the game's next problem, the frame rate. The frame rate is very inconsistent throughout this game. Oftentimes it will run at 60 or lower. If it's stuck to 30 frames per second, I suppose we could have gotten used to it, but because it's so inconsistent, it's hard to tell what's going to happen next. But if I'm gonna be honest, and I know this is probably gonna piss people off, I really didn't mind the frame rate. I mean, since I know how it was going to act as soon as I got to a section I knew was going to be bigger, I pretty much expected it, and the frame rate really didn't give me a headache. I mean, the backgrounds were nice, and because I didn't mind the frame rate, I really don't see a problem with it. Though I can understand why other people have problems with it, so don't get mad first. Unlike Wrath of Cortex, I will say, the music in this game is also pretty enjoyable as well. Stuart Copeland returns for the last time composing the last Spyro game, and unlike Wrath of Cortex, the tracks do fit. They don't sound as good as the first 3 Spyro games, but hey, at least it's better than being a bad soundtrack. Also, much like Wrath of Cortex, you're gonna see load times a lot. On my version of the game, they took about a whole minute to load. Minigames take about 30 seconds, but the actual levels take longer. How the hell did this game get a platinum release? Shouldn't it fixed it? I don't know, maybe it's because the game sold well. I really don't understand. Let's just stop getting angry. Let's just take a look at the game's actual gameplay. One of the biggest selling points in this game is that Spyro is given brand new breath abilities: Bubble Breath, Electric Breath, and Ice Breath. Bubble Breath is used to catch dragonflies, but it is completely useless on enemies. The Electric Breath pretty much act the same, except it can act some switches. And the Ice Breath is just there to put out fire and freeze enemies. I really don't see much point in these breaths. They are completely pointless. The Bubble Breath, I suppose, is kind of needed to catch dragonflies, but honestly, the Bubble Breath feels like the worst thing to use to catch these dragonflies, since the dragonflies are actually running away from you. I mean, aren't they supposed to be on your side? It takes goddamn forever to catch these dragonflies, and I will say it's one of the things that really annoyed me about this game. Aside from the new breaths though, Spyro has everything he had in the previous games. Yes, he's got all of his old abilities. Good thing that Check 6 and Equinox E didn't mess that up. Traveler's Tales, you guys really needed to test that game. But much like Wrath of Cortex, again, the controls do feel a little bit slippery. Now, of course, to be honest, the controls in this game really didn't bother me as much as Wrath of Cortex's controls did, because at least due to the frame rate, I kind of knew where I was going to land and what was going to happen. Like I said, the controls really didn't bother me in this game, much like the frame rate. I know that's going to piss people off, but I'm just sharing my honest opinion. I don't share opinions on what other people think, but just from my personal experience. Anyway, so let's take a look at the levels. Well, for the most part, I will say, at first, I thought these levels were going to be good. But the problem is, like I said, the levels are long and they are big, which I suppose does cause a bad frame rate, like I again really didn't bother. But the levels, like I said, are way too big. There's way too many spaces, and by the time you're revisiting the level, you've probably gained every single gem. If they put more enemies around here, maybe I'd appreciate it, but I think they just should have made these levels smaller or just add more enemies. Speaking of gems, they act very weirdly in this game. Some spawn upside down, some spawn without physics and then suddenly gain physics a short time later, and some are worth different numbers. For example, there's a yellow gem that's worth 25, there's one that's worth 2, and there's one that's worth 0. I'm not joking, literally 0. Now on the other side of things, there are still some minigames after they take so damn long to load. The minigames, well, I know there's a lot of people that don't like the minigames, but to be honest, they really don't bother me. Yeah, there are some vehicles, but I will say at least most of them control better than the ones in Wrath of Cortex. Okay, except for that UFO level, that one controlled like crap. So is there anything else about this game I don't like? Yes, the boss fights. There's only one boss you have to fight in the entire game, 3 times. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, only you have to get different breaths and whatnot. I would like that, except there's just one problem with these boss fights. The camera's loose. It never focuses on Ripto, and by the time you've actually seen him, you're probably gonna get hit. I died numerous times on these boss fights because of this stupid camera. And in this boss's case, it certainly was worse than how the camera acted in Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, which is definitely saying something. But, if I'm going to be honest, and I know this is really going to piss a lot of people off when I say this, but I actually found more enjoyment with this game as opposed to how the vehicles worked in Wrath of Cortex. Maybe it's because there was just a lot of things in Wrath of Cortex that frustrated me. But with Enter the Dragonfly, since there was a lot of things I really didn't mind, I really actually enjoyed playing most of these stages. Yeah, they're big, but the first time you play them, and since I'm really not bothered by the game's frame rate or anything else for that matter, I really do have a lot of enjoyment with these stages. Does that make Enter the Dragonfly a guilty pleasure? Well, not really, because the stuff that pissed me off too really pissed me off. But, to be honest, they pissed me off less than what Wrath of Cortex did. Yes, I'm just gonna come up right in front and say it. I think Enter the Dragonfly is better than Wrath of Cortex, in my opinion. I know that's a very bold claim for me to say, but to be honest guys, I really didn't think there was that many problems with this game. I can totally see why other people don't like this game, but it's just the type of person that I am. There's a lot of stuff that really doesn't bother me in this game. There are still things that piss me off for sure, but the stages were just a lot of fun to play, and since I didn't mind the frame rate or anything else for that matter, opposed to the good soundtrack and the decent level design, I really did have fun with these stages. Despite the things pissing me off, like I said, I just think that this game is a little bit more enjoyable than what Wrath the Cortex offered. Wrath the Cortex I would have enjoyed more, except the level design and just the vehicles as a whole really pissed me off, and really didn't feel like they didn't test the game. I would say the same thing for Enter the Dragonfly, but it's just that I had more enjoyment with this game as opposed to Wrath the Cortex. Okay, so I'm saying too much here. Let's just actually get to my final verdict. Overall, I really don't think Enter the Dragonfly is a perfect Spyro game, and I can totally understand why people hate it. But judging off of my personal experience, Enter the Dragonfly certainly wasn't the worst Spyro game I ever played. And it certainly wasn't one of the worst video games of all time, guys. I think you are being a little bit too harsh on this game. If you are going to play this game though, I recommend playing the GameCube version. It's more forgiving, even though there are still some things that piss me off. But overall, I'm just gonna give Enter the Dragonfly a rating of 6 out of 10. I know that's very stupid of me to rate a game higher than a game that has already been praised more than this game, but just to be honest, Enter the Dragonfly really didn't bother me. At best, it was a harmless game, but at worst, it's just an unfinished mess. But there could be something that I'm missing, because I know there's people that hate this game. But let's just stick to our own opinions, don't call me an idiot, otherwise I'll have to block you from my channel, and let's just keep on reviewing good stuff. And, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid this is the season finale of Let's Tackle. I know, it's a season, but come on, I can't review stuff forever. I'm gonna take a break from Let's Tackle because, like I said, I'm doing a freaking movie and some other stuff that I've got planned for this October, which you'll see on October 22nd. Or is it the other? I'm not sure, but stay tuned, guys, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. Be sure to subscribe if you like my content, and I'll see you soon.